doesn't matter anymore. Where do our minds wander when we have no duties to perform? What are we reading? What are we renting at the video stores, or maybe not video stores anymore? What are we renting at Redbox? What are we doing to those things? What are we taking in? What is it that's filtering through our head? Folks, do you know, listen, I know some of you got programs you watch. We're not talking, look, I'm just being honest with you. The more you see something, the more you're desensitized to it. If you watch Desperate Housewives and you see adultery over and over again, then that's going to get to where you're just desensitized to that. It's just the way it is. If I see something over and over and over and over and over, that's all that can get into my head. That's all that's in my head, and that's all I'm really thinking about. Can't wait till the next episode of such and such. So it's all that soaks into my head, and the more it soaks into me, the more it comes out of me over and over again. And folks, temptation is so alluring. It's so alluring. It's like a Venus flytrap or the sundew in Australia. It's very colorful. It's very, and the insect will come down and land on it. All of a sudden, that sticky dew on the outside of that flower will grab hold of it, and it can't get out of it, and then it closes in around it, and it eats you. And it does it every time. Folks, I'm going to promise you something. I'm going to promise. We're going to talk about it when we get into the eternal thing here. But folks, there are far more wonderful things to be thinking about than how you can fulfill your physical pleasures. Because folks, I'm going to tell you something. We're all going to get old and we're all going to get ugly. I've done both very young. We're all going to get that way. And what's going to matter are the things eternal. What's going to matter is what you leave behind. What's going to matter is what you're taking in there with you. And it's certainly not. Look, don't look at riches. Don't look at riches. Don't look at temptations and trials. Don't look at riches. And I'm not talking about what you have to do to provide for your family. Every man and woman wants their family to be provided for. But here's the thing I am talking about. Getting wrapped up in it. I see these sports stars. My goodness gracious. The things, the money they get paid to do the stuff they do. And granted, I pay some of those tickets and I go and watch them. But I look at some of these sports stars. There was the football players who make millions, and they were trying to add a game to them. That's what they're trying to do, add a game during the regular season. And one of these football players had the audacity to say, "I'm not a slave." Well, bless your little heart. You only get paid $300,000 or $400,000 to play a game on Sunday per game, and you can't play another game because you're not a slave. And so we sit there, and so you get kind of frustrated with that. Yeah, man. Or King James. King James stands up, and LeBron James stands up. His whole demeanor, his whole basis is based upon being King James. And so he raises his hand, and he's making 50 points a game on a regular basis and paid all this kind of money. And we get so wrapped up in that, folks. Folks, listen to me. It's not going to matter when you die. I just went to my grandfather's funeral this past week. Listen to me. Listen to me. It's not going to matter. People are going to start trying to make up good things about you when that happens. You'll have some good things. They'll start making up good things. Listen, and I say it all the time. As soon as the funeral's done, they're going to wonder where they're going to eat. Where are we going out to eat? Let's all go eat somewhere. I'll be laughing and smiling 30 minutes after my funeral. Folks, listen, you got to start thinking about there rather than focusing all your attention on here. We're getting so much anxiety and so much depression and so much pain that it's hurting us and it's breaking us. And we've all been there, folks. We've all been to where we just about had all we can possibly take. And the Bible teaches us as Christians, we're not supposed to be looking at all this. We're supposed to be looking there. You say, well, Ryan, what do you mean? What's the deal? You know what John Rockefeller said? He said, hey, there's 3 steps to getting filthy rich. I want you to write them down. Just 3 steps to getting filthy rich. One of them is to go to work extremely early. The second one is come home extremely late. And the third one, find oil. Look, it's not. Look, everybody's out there. I want to get rich quick scheme. I want to get rich. Folks, listen to me. Take it away from you, because I have seen so many times. Look, there are some wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Christian people who give, who have an awful lot of money. Praise God, I want you to make all the money you can. But folks, when that becomes more important to you than going home and looking in your family's eyes and holding them and loving them, you know what I often thought? And I think about these things sometimes. World War II, and even before that, and the Great Depression. You look at this; these people would go to fences, and they'd stand at fences. This is not long ago, folks, in the scheme of things. And they would have a lottery to see which men could go to work that day. I've often wondered what it would be like if times got like that again, where I had to go to the fence And I had to stand there with a ticket hoping they'd pick me so I could make money for my family. Folks, don't think it'll never happen again. They didn't think it would happen before the first one. And I'm standing there and I'm just begging them, listen, man, take me. I'll work for half of the wages you're talking about as long as I can buy some bread for my babies. Come on, just let me work. Folks, then all of a sudden money doesn't matter anymore. It's just a matter of, will you just feed my family? And then when I'm going to get excited and when I'm going to be just having the best time of my life won't be when I'm walking around with a fat wallet. It'll be when I'm holding my kids. And it'll be like those movies we see where they're just holding kids at Christmas and they're like, guys, I was able to get you each one thing. I was just able to get you one thing. And they all hug me and they all love me because I'm daddy and not because I gave them a bunch of stuff, folks. Once we get to that point, we don't know whether that's going to happen or not. And things are going to start mattering that never mattered before. Things are going to start mattering in this nation that never mattered to us before. We're going to have to start thinking on the eternal things and thinking on what God wants us to think about. We're going to have to think about eternity. Think about that just for a minute. It'll blow your mind. This is how you think about it. Think about a stone, sort of like Stone Mountain. But it's going to be even bigger than that. I want you to think about a rock that's 100 miles high and 100 miles long and 100 miles thick. And I want you to think that every 1,000 years a small bird comes and lands on that rock. And that small little bird sharpens his beak on that rock. Sharpens his beak on that rock and flies away. The next bird doesn't come for another 1,000 years. Folks, think about this just for a minute. When that rock is finally worn down by all of those birds over thousands of years, we won't even touch eternity. What we do here and our problems we're going through here don't even mean much in the scheme of eternity. Because what we do here and the things we do for God are what God's going to base eternity on for us. Now, I don't mean you get saved by your works. You don't. Your works come as a result of you being saved. Salvation is a free gift. Your reward in heaven is not. Folks, we need to start thinking about, what am I going to take there? I can't take my riches. I can't take my clothes. I'll be naked before God on my knees, just with my hands outstretched to Him, folks. You won't be clothed. We'll be naked before Him. We'll say, God, will you please let me in? He said, whoa. It's not by your merit. It's by the merit of Jesus Christ that you're coming in, and you have been born again. Come in, good and faithful servant. Well done. Folks, this stuff we're going through, yeah, it's tough, and it does hurt. We have to feel physical pain, and we have to feel emotional pain. But friends, let me tell you something. It's nothing in comparison to those things that are eternal. Folks, think on your legacy. Think on your legacy. I'm not selfish legacy. Do you know the two things I want to be holding when I die? I mean it, folks. My wife's sick this morning. We went to a restaurant last night on our way to Griffin and ate, and she got sick from some of the food there. And so she's at home this morning. Y'all pray for her. I'm going to tell you two things. I mean this, folks. I don't just say stuff to say stuff. I mean it. I'm just telling you two things I want to be holding when I die. And I don't know how I'm going to die. Maybe in a car accident or whatever. But if I have the opportunity, two things I want to be holding. That's my Bible and my wife's hand. I'm going to tell you something. I can't imagine anything more beautiful than be holding my Bible and looking into my wife's eyes as I go on to be with the Lord. I can't think of anything more beautiful. Folks, this stuff doesn't matter. This stuff in this world doesn't matter. We got to work hard to see people saved so we can see them in heaven. We got to work hard to see them in eternity. We got to work hard for those things that are eternal. We got to fight so very hard. What are your kids going to say at your funeral? Say, well, I'm a young mom. I'm in my 20s. Oh, man, you'll be in your 40s and 60s and 80s before you know it. You'll be growing old so fast. What are they going to say at your funeral? One of my kids, I told my wife at one, and I don't want to ruin a subject that I'm going to do at the men's meeting, but I'm going to tell you something. I told my wife one time, I said, if my kids could just get up and say, I was the godliest man they knew. Not on my own pride, but just so they could say, anytime something came up, He brought me to the Bible. Anytime something came up, He brought me to God. He brought me to the throne of God. If they could just say that, that'd be fine. I'd be happy. I would have died a wonderfully and blessed man if my children could just say that. That's other stuff. My dad was the richest guy. I heard a guy one time say this. He said, the greatest gift my dad ever gave me, this was at a funeral, the greatest gift my dad ever gave me was the game of golf. Please, no. Let the greatest gift He's ever given you be Jesus Christ. Let the greatest gift you've ever given them, moms, be Jesus Christ. What will your children say at your funeral? This guy, another thing, folks, look, let them say this of you at your funeral. Let them say they were crazy for Jesus. Let them say you were a loony bird for Jesus. Let them say you were a holy roller and a Bible thumper. Brady, let them say you were crazy. You did something huge for God. I remember when they did this for God. That was the craziest thing I've ever seen anybody do for God. The craziest. You got to think on your legacy. Think on victory. We just talked about it. You'll have tribulations, but do not fear, for I have overcome the world. Take courage. I've overcome it. I've gotten past it. I've worked through it. Already for you. It's already been won. Your victory has already been won. Folks, General Eisenhower said this. He says, there are no victories at discount prices. You're not going to save your marriage by just letting things go. You're not going to stay fit and healthy by just letting things go. You're not going to get out of your financial problems by just letting things go. Man, I lived through this too. I'm not just talking to y'all. Sometimes I say y'all and you and stuff, man. Might as well be looking in a mirror. Might as well be looking in the mirror at myself. Folks, come on, folks. There are no victories at discount prices. You're not going to say marriage or family or finances. Look, folks, think on God. Think on God. Folks, do you realize He's infinite? He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He's omnipotent. He's all-powerful. He's everywhere at once. He's all of that. He's all of that. Think on Him. When you're in the midst of all your trouble, think on Him. Think of what He is and what He's done. Folks, you know what? You can't talk about God behind His back. You can't talk about God behind His back. Everywhere you're talking about God, and why did God do this, and why did God do that, and I don't understand God, and God, I'm mad. He hears all of that. He knows you're saying it. He knows what you're going through. You can't talk about Him behind His back. And folks, a lot of us say, I hope God's on my side in all of this. I hope God's on my side. No, folks, what we need to realize, we need to be on God's side. It's not a matter of Him being on my side. Lord, will you just be on my side in this particular instance? Look, Lord, you know that things are falling apart in my relationships with my family, with my brother or my sister or my wife or my husband. You know they're falling apart, God. You know they are. So would you please, you understand my side. You know I'm right. Folks, the deal is, get on God's side. Get on God's side of the matter. Your side doesn't matter. My side doesn't matter. What the Word says to us is what matters. Folks, I look at this right now. You know I got a coffin sitting up here, and I know I got to hurry. But I got a coffin that's sitting up here. And we look at this right here, and we see this, and we wonder, what in the world? Folks, do you know right now, if you were to leave a concrete slab sitting on a grassy hill, you made it up in there, and you just left it alone, and you leave it alone for 20 years, there'll be stuff growing up through that concrete by the time you see it again. There'll be stuff growing up through that concrete. Many a person has died and had wooden coffins, and the next thing you know, 50 years later, there are trees growing up through where they were. Folks, the only thing that's going to matter in the scheme of things is this right here, the cross of Jesus Christ. The only thing that's going to matter is His sacrifice for all of us. The only thing that's going to matter, folks, it may get worse before it gets better, and I assume it will. But folks, I'm going to tell you something. You can always look to eternity and look to what He is doing. Richard told me just yesterday, we were talking, he was telling me a story, maybe many of you heard of a 104.7, a little girl who 13 or 14 years old, before she got her learner's permit, she was telling her family, I want to be an organ donor. I heard about it, I want to be an organ donor. And folks, the dad was like, yeah, I understand. She got her learner's permit. She said, I want to put on there, I want to be an organ donor. Finally, Dad said, okay, fine, you do that. You go ahead and you become an organ donor. Well, it wasn't long after that, not even a year later, they were in an accident and she died. Now, she was a girl that was on fire for Jesus. She was on fire for Him. She was telling everybody about Jesus. It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. She was born again, and we know where she is today. But here's the thing. Her heart went to a woman. The woman had called in to 104.7. Her heart had gone to this woman who was an unbeliever, who, because she could live a little longer, was able to get in church and was able to be born again, and she was saved. And she was talking to those guys on 104.7, and lo and behold, the dad of the little girl that died called on the radio station. And they were crying and they were talking to one another, folks. And you know what they probably were